What's up to all my people, and welcome to Stoniecast number 135 and season 4, episode 33 of Thoughts and Hunches, making money in bunches and sucker punches. It's your boy Stony coming back at you for the 135th time, and I'd like to welcome all of my fellow lowlifes, scumbags, hoodlums, shady characters, anybody named Phil Mickelson, Bruno Mars, or now Shohei Ohtani, altar boys with unhealthy relationships with their priests, hustlers, foul-mouthed raging alcoholics, cheats, friends and family of the gooch, fienders with abusive language, and degenerates. I mean, let's face it, anybody with a massive gambling problem. If you're new to the show, hey, you probably fit in to one or a few of those categories, so welcome, because you're now one of us. One of us. Gooba gobba, one of us. We accepted one of us. Sorry, every now and then I get a little carried away there. Make sure to hit the subscribe button right down here in the lower right-hand corner. That way you can get notified every time I put out a new video. To spread the word is also very easy. Just tell other degenerates and scumbags you know, crews, to go to YouTube and enter Thoughts and Hunches in the search bar. That'll take you directly to my page, and that way you can get dialed into everything that I give you. Also, if you're new and you don't know what's what with this channel, it's very simple. It's college and pro football winners, MLB playoff winners, and college basketball winners. The books don't expect a guy like me to deliver this many winners, right? That's what I do, right? I'm an outlier and a disruptor. I'm like the Beastie Boys. Step into the party, disrupt. Wait, hold on. I'm like the Beastie Boys.
Step inside the party, disrupt the whole scene!
Yeah, something like that. You know, it's what I do. I go to the mattresses and I get the info for you every single week in order to get you to the window with a ticket to cash. Now, before I get to the picks, as usual, I have some thoughts. On the eve of the tournament beginning last week, I read an interesting article in the Washington Post about how women's college basketball has eclipsed men's basketball in popularity. The story went on and on and on, just repeating the old, same, tired takes from Michael Wilbon, Stephen A. Smith, Mike Greenberg, and all the others that say it's because of the familiarity of the players. Although the transfer portal is also available in the women's game, women, for the most part, they don't utilize it because the biggest stars are already recruited by the biggest schools. Well, sorry, Washington Post, but you got it wrong. When the viewing numbers came out over the weekend of the first and second round of the men's tournament, it was the most watched tournament ever so far. Yeah, we still have 2 more weekends to go, but the ratings show that the numbers aren't just up, they're way up. So now that we know that more people are clearly watching the men than the women, and those shitty takes from Wilbon and company can be put to bed, let me fire away on the women some more. What the hell are they doing playing the first 2 rounds in home gyms? All the top schools had 2 home games at home during the tournament, making it incredibly predictable. They all won. Of course they did. Every year in the men's tournament, John Q. Public wants to see the Cinderellas or the darlings of the tournament pull off some upsets. Well, you never get that in the women's game, because it's always the favorites that get there every year, making it look almost prearranged, or dare I say, fixed, to allow these top teams to get to deep into the tournament. It's ridiculous, and I know the reason why. If they played neutral sites like the men do, nobody would go. They wouldn't sell out if they did it like the men do. They just wouldn't. The men can go anywhere and the public will buy up the tickets. Trust me, from somebody that's been selling March Madness tickets and making a nice little profit. The men can go anywhere, right? The women's Final Four is at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in Cleveland, where the Cavaliers play, and a capacity of 19,000. While the men's Final Four is in Glendale, where the Arizona Cardinals play, and has a capacity of 63,000. 3 times more fans attending games, and God knows how many more fans watching. Makes it a no-brainer. So, if you're a women's season ticket holder in a shitty place like, I don't know, let's say Baton Rouge, forgive me for a moment while I laugh at you.
Dad, are you going to be one or not? All right.
De Niro, it never gets old. It really doesn't. Back to the men's game. Last season, the talking heads were upset that 3 Cinderellas made the Final Four. Miami, San Diego State, Florida Atlantic were all in the Final Four, and the numbers were down, the viewing numbers, even though everyone allegedly liked Cinderellas, right? Well, who won? A blue blood in Connecticut. Now those same talking heads that didn't like the look of last year's Final Four are now complaining that all the big dogs advanced to the Sweet 16, making it a bracket filled with chalk and there's no Cinderellas. That's good for viewership, though. The first 2 rounds of the tournament last weekend were riveting. Sure, there were plenty of blowouts, but there were just as many great games as there were blowouts and overtime games. Now, not only do these games get tighter, but the numbers do too. I've always said that the time to truly make money in college hoops are the first 2 months before New Year's Day. Once conference play starts in January, followed by conference tournaments and now the postseason tournaments, the odds makers have had 5 months to get their numbers in order and make them tight. So expect some games that come right down to the wire where the spread is concerned. The other big story that I just have to comment on this week is about Shohei Ohtani's translator running up a $4.5 million gambling debt. Because of this, Shohei's now been added to my intro along with Phil Mickelson and Bruno Mars. When the story broke, Ohtani's translator, Ippy Mitsuhara, racked up a $4.5 million gambling tab through an illegal bookie. The money to pay the debt came from Ohtani, according to the story. The next day, though, Ohtani's team said, no, the money was stolen from him by Mitsuhara. Who knows what the truth is? Nobody really knows. We're going to find out, though. Here's what I think. Ohtani knew. Whether he was placing bets or not, he knew. Now, I don't claim to know how much money Mitsuhara makes as Ohtani's translator. But is it $4.5 million? My guess is no. The biggest difference, let me explain to you, between online betting and illegal bookies is that the bookies offer you credit. You can call up, place a wager, and they offer you credit to pay the loss later. An online bet or an in-person bet requires you to put the money up front. And then when you win your winnings plus your bet. The bookie gives you credit, and you pay what you lose. If I'm a bookie and Shohei's interpreter is calling me for action, I'm not going to offer credit to him to the tune of $4.5 million unless Shohei was guaranteeing the loss. It just doesn't make sense to me, and I have a feeling the story is going to go on and on and on throughout the season, making it Rob Manfred's biggest nightmare this season. Finally, as for programming, the next video will come out Saturday morning in preparation for the Elite Eight games on Saturday and Sunday. My Final Four video will come out next Friday night, and my final video of the season will be 2 days later on Sunday to prepare you for the national championship. So make sure you tune in, and the easiest way to do that, like I said just a couple minutes ago, just hit the subscribe button right down here, and the video will find you. As for the week that was last week, after Thursday I was hovering around the break-even point, but I turned it up on the weekend with a very big Friday and Sunday to make my week another winning one. Here are the numbers. Last week, 86 wins, 63 losses, and 1 push. 57.72%, another solid week. Teddy, tell him.
Pay him. Pay that man his money.
NCAA postseason numbers. Just the postseason. 228 wins, 151 losses, 4 pushes, good for 60.16%. Just doesn't get any much better than that as we finish off the season. Now, overall, the entire 31 weeks of the season, every pick that I've given you, 1,488 wins, 1,062 losses, and 33 pushes. Good for 58.35%. That's a solid year any way you look at it. I mean, please remember now that all these picks that I give you are 100% free. So for all the touts that give you 75 to 80% winners, come on now. We all know you're full of shit. Plus, you're charging for these picks. With me, just come to YouTube every week and I'll drop my plays on you for free. This week began yesterday with the other tournaments, and there were a few more today that are going on right now. I went 4-4 yesterday. But the big boys, they get going in about, 22 hours from now. So let's get the Sweet 16 started. Tomorrow night in the West region at Crypto Arena, La La Land at 7 Eastern on CBS. Second-seeded Arizona is a 7-point favorite over 6-seeded Clemson, and the total is 152. Both schools struggled down the stretch of the regular season and conference tournaments, but both have looked very good so far in the dance. Clemson took out a good New Mexico team easily in the first round and followed it up with an impressive win over Baylor on Sunday. It's pretty much accepted that in order to make a run in the tournament, great guard play is a must. And Clemson's killer 1-2 punch in the backcourt of Chase Hunter and Joseph Girard III have been the reason the Tigers are here. They face off against a very talented and balanced Wildcat squad that comes at you in waves, with Caleb Love in the backcourt and Keyshawn Johnson bringing the physicality before Omar Ballo drops the hammer on you. Wins over Long Beach State and Dayton have the Wildcats thinking that they can keep on winning. But at 7, I just can't lay that many against a red-hot Clemson squad playing with all that confidence. Zona gets the W, but Clemson gets this one through the back door, and it stays under 152. Moving on to the East region at TD Garden in Boston at 7:39 Eastern on TBS. Top-seeded Connecticut is an 11-point favorite over 5th-seeded San Diego State, and the total is 135.5 in a rematch of last season's national title game. Connecticut is the team to beat as they look to repeat, and it's easy to see why. They've won 9 straight and have only lost once in 2024. The Huskies have barely broken a sweat and blowing out Stetson and Northwestern. Guards Tristan Newton and Cam Spencer start the offense, as big man Donovan Clingan has been tough to slow down in the post. But UConn is not only the deepest team, but I believe they're the most complete team without any noticeable weaknesses. Head coach Dan Hurley has built a culture of physically dominating team that pound their opponents. Well, San Diego State does the exact same thing defensively. They frustrate and pound away. Offensively, the Aztecs have their issues, and they're not likely to light up the scoreboard, but 4 starters from last year's finalists all return, with Micah Parrish, Darian Trammell, Lamont Butler, and big man Jadon Ledee. Ledee has been the standout of the tournament, along with Butler. But can they cover this number? They have a chance to avenge last year's loss and drop the biggest upset in the tournament with a win, but it's not going to happen. I took San Diego State with the points in last year's title game, and I got burned. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. UConn moves one step closer to becoming repeat champs with another easy win. So give me the Huskies, lay the lumber, and give me over 135.5. Back to the West region at the Crypto in La La Land at 9:39 Eastern on CBS. Top-seeded North Carolina is a 4-point chalk over 4th-seeded Alabama, and the total's 173.5. You want fireworks? Well, you're going to get them here. The top-seeded Tar Heels have easy wins over Wagner and Michigan State in the tournament, and as they have all season long, they've been led by R.J. Davis and Armando Bacot. But Harrison Ingram is riding a hot streak right now to add a 3rd score, and that makes them incredibly dangerous. Excuse me. Yeah, that was necessary. Bama is where they usually are this time of year. That's what they do. Head coach Nate Oates has led the Tide to their third Sweet 16 in the last 4 years after easy wins over College of Charleston and Grand Canyon. Although the Grand Canyon game was kind of tight, but Bama pulled away. Like I said, it all starts with a solid backcourt, and All-American Mark Sears is a superstar who seems to be always making the big play when needed the most. Add backcourt mates like Rylan Griffin and Aaron Estrada, and you have the best three-guard offense in the nation. Without a true big, Oates will run multiple bodies to try and slow down Baycott. And with neither team playing very much defense, expect lots of points. I really like Bama's speed and three-guard offense here. So I'm going to take the Tide, catching 4, and over 173.5. So if I'm taking the Tide and catching the 4 with a sprinkle on the money line, Earl.
Sprinkle me, man. Sprinkle me, man. Sprinkle me.
Every now and then a little E40 never hurt nobody. The late game tomorrow night is back in the East region at Boston at 10:09 Eastern on TBS. We get another good one as second-seeded Iowa State is a short 1.5-point favorite over 3-seed Illinois, and the total is 146. Both squads won their conference tournaments and haven't really been tested in the tournament yet. Iowa State, in my estimation, should have been a 1 seed, and they played like it so far as they cruised past South Dakota State and Washington State behind a deep 9-man rotation that get balanced scoring from their own three-guard combo of Tamin Lipsey, Keyshawn Gilbert, Curtis Jones. They come at you in waves. When they're not delivering, Sweenman, Milan, Momchilovich, that's what I call him, can fill it up too, right? But where the Cyclones really excel is defensively. They pound the glass and punish offenses, which is good because they'll have their hands full with the Illini. After winning the Big Ten tournament, Illinois has taken out Morehead State and Duquesne easily behind their potent 1-2 punch of Terrence Shannon Jr. and Marcus Domask. Shannon has been the best player in the tournament so far. Let's face it, he has. This squad is also deep, and while they always seem to get into the 80s or 90s, they're going to have to be smart to get by Iowa State. So the age-old question in the tournament here is, do you take the team that's been better all season or the hottest team? For me, it's a case-by-case study. And here, I like the better team all season, and that's been the Cyclones. Iowa State minus 1.5 and under 146. So that's it for tomorrow. That's all you get. 4 games tomorrow. And now let's move on to the 4 games on Friday. We'll start it all off in the South region. American Airlines Arena in Dallas at 7:09 Eastern on CBS, where second-seeded Marquette is a 6.5-point chalk over 11-seed North Carolina State, and the total is 151. After reaching the Big East tournament game where they lost to Connecticut, Marquette blew out Western Kentucky and escaped a narrow one over Colorado on Sunday. They only play 7 men, but 4 of them are guards, led by the nation's best point guard, Tyler Kolek. He scores, he distributes, and looks like a left-handed Steve Nash when he's really got it going. His sidekick is Cam Jones, who stretches the defenses and finishes on the break. NC State lost 4 straight to end the regular season, and they haven't lost since. An improbable run through the ACC tournament with wins over Virginia, Duke, and North Carolina got the Wolfpack their ticket to the dance, where so far they've taken out Texas Tech and Oakland in the big show. Big man DJ Burns Jr. leads the way among a balanced offense where 6 players are all capable of scoring in double figures. Unfortunately for the Pack, though, midnight strikes on Friday night. And Cinderella gets sent packing by a mentally tough Marquette squad led by head coach Shaka Smart, who knows a thing or two about reaching the Final Four. 6.5 that's a big number. I believe Marquette gets the W, but I'm on NC State with the points as the red-hot team keeps this one close. Wolfpack plus 6.5 and under 151. Midwest region in the Motor City of Detroit at 7:39 Eastern on TBS. Top-seeded Purdue is a 5.5-point favorite over 5th-seeded Gonzaga, and the total is 154.5. This one's got the makings of a great one, with a true blue blood versus a team with a history of March failures. Purdue has been a top 5 team all season and held the top spot for more than 6 weeks and have not broken a sweat in their blowout wins over Grambling State and Utah State in the first 2 rounds by a ridiculous average margin of 35 points. We all know about Zach Edey and how he's a 25-20 guy in what seems like every game. But the rest of the Boilermakers are dangerous too, with unbelievable secondary and third options like Trey Kaufman-Wren and guards Fletcher Lawyer and Lance Jones. Gonzaga, on the other hand, quietly has been a very efficient team. But because they lost to St. Mary's twice, including in the West Coast Conference Tournament Championship, they've been drastically underrated. Guards Ryan Nembhard and Nolan Hickman form an efficient backcourt, while Anton Watson and Ben Gregg are the slashers that finish at the rim. This one is also a great coaching matchup, as the underrated Matt Painter, who fairly or not has been criticized for his previous March performances, against the March machine and Gonzaga's Mark Few. Painter has the advantage in starting 5, especially with Edey, but Few has the edge in bench and coaching, and I'm not sure if Gonzaga can pull off the upset, but I do like them a lot, catching 5.5, and I'll take over 154.5. But just in case, don't be afraid to put a little sprinkle.
Sprinkle me, man.
Back to the South region in Dallas, 9:39 Eastern on CBS. Top-seeded Houston is a 4.5-point favorite over 4-seed Duke, and the total is 134.5. Houston, along with Purdue and Connecticut, has been at the top of the polls all season long for good reason. Yeah, they have serious ballers, but their unity and ability to attack both on defense and on the glass makes them different. LJ Cryer and Emmanuel Sharp can fill it up, while Juwan Roberts is the big man that moves opponents off the glass. But point guard Jamal Shed is the true difference maker, who he won't score 40, but he will do everything else, right? And he's just the man. If you watch that win the other night, oh my God, that great game down the stretch, it's just insane. Anyway, Duke, on the other hand, they've had their ups and downs, and they closed well in February, but a loss to North Carolina to close the season and a first-round loss to NC State in the ACC tournament added more question marks. Then the tournament started, and after an easy beatdown of Vermont, Duke backed it up by absolutely hammering a very good and dangerous James Madison squad on Sunday in round 2. Duke is Duke. Their roster is filled with future NBA players. Kyle Filipowski, Jeremy Roach, Tyrese Proctor. All these guys are going to be playing at the next level. But when Jared McCain starts filling it up, Duke becomes even more dangerous. Offensively, Duke has the advantage. But I think Houston has the advantage everywhere else, including coaching, defense, athleticism, and grit. Kelvin Sampson is an outstanding coach. He's been doing it a very long time. And he might finally have a team good enough to cut down the nets in 12 days. Give me Houston, lay the 4, and I'll take the over 134. Finally, what I believe is going to be the best game of the Sweet 16. We go back to the Midwest region in the Motor City at 10:09 Eastern on TBS. Second-seeded Tennessee is a 2.5-point favorite over third-seeded Creighton, and the total is 143.5. Both schools have been top 10 regulars all season, and up until their back-to-back losses to Kentucky to close out the season and Mississippi State in their first game of the SEC tournament, Tennessee was regarded as a 1 seed, but instead they had to settle for probably a better 2 seed in a region in which they only had to drive 4 hours to Charlotte for their first 2 games and now to Detroit instead of traveling out west. The Vols bounced back from those 2 losses to crush St. Peter's in round 1 and were beating up Texas physically until Texas got hot late and turned round 2 into a nail-biter. But survive and advance is all you need to do. And the Vols did it with offense in round 1 and defense in round 2. Dalton Connect is the All-American leading scorer that will always get the ball in crunch time for the Vols, and Jonas Idu and Josiah Jordan James pound the glass. But the heartbeat of the team is point man Zakai Ziegler. He controls the offense, and he's damn good at defense. Creighton also got bounced in their first game of the Big East tournament by Providence, but they took out Akron last Thursday and sent a red-hot Oregon squad packing on Saturday in a double overtime thriller that's been the best game of the tournament so far. The Blue Jays offense runs through big man Ryan Kalkbrenner and the trio of guards Trey Alexander, Baylor Shireman, and Stephen Ashworth. The fact that 3 of those guys played 50 minutes against Oregon shows the Jays' toughness, but it also points out their lack of depth. Tennessee has the edge in bench and coaching, while Rick Barnes, but not by much. Barnes is great, but I think Creighton's Doug McDermott is wildly underrated. These 2 match up very well with each other, and I'm glad it's the last game of the Sweet 16, though I wish it wasn't on so late here in Tennessee. I'm a big fan of Creighton's ball control team play, and I just can't bet against UT in this spot because I believe with the game on the line, Connect is arguably the most dangerous offensive player in the tournament and is capable of single-handedly taking over a close game late. So give me the Vols, lay the 2.5, and over 143.5. So that's all you get. You get 8 games coming at you over the next 2 days. I'll be posting Stoniecast 136 on Saturday for all of the Elite 8 matchups. So until then, just remember that if you want to win big, you got to bet big. Scared money don't make money. You can't go broke taking a profit. For me, the action is the juice. There's money on the streets that can't be ignored. And finally, good luck to you. Miss you, Gooch, my brother. Teddy, take us home.
Pay him. Pay that man his money.